Hey Jen, how are
How are
you?
you?
I'm good. How are you
Awesome.
doing?
I am well. I'm like,
Good.
I'm like, I think it's funny. I tried to have a conversation with my dog and cat beforehand to let them know that I was going to be indisposed and they needed to behave. They're like 2-year-olds when you get on the phone.
Of course.
I'm like, we all quit running around. So you'll hear them. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you
Thank you.
so much
Thanks for the
for
opportunity.
Man, just a little intro about Dawn. If if you don't, if you haven't had the pleasure of talking to her or meeting her, my first encounter with you was with Jerome, who was on, but yeah, seeking you out because I saw you as somebody in the community as a leader. You had built a business, you had built a thriving business, you were active in the community, you're a pillar of volunteering and leadership. So I'm excited to have you here today, like to extract some of this mighty wisdom and golden nuggets that you have to share with us for sure. Uh,
Yeah, and I'm excited to do that because that you're right. There are a lot of things, I guess, different facets of each person and how you build your community, right? What you
yeah,
do in the community. So, yeah, I'm excited to share with you several things. So, and see how the conversation goes.
yeah, and that's just kind of what it is. I'm leaving it open. You have an amazing story, so I definitely want to start there. Of Did you always were you always an entrepreneur? Did you always have that spirit? Well, start with
Actually,
you.
no.
What do you do? And tell us a little
Yes.
bit about yourself so that.
Okay. So, my name is Dawn Candy. My company is I Promote You. It was started in 2008. And whenever I say that, people go, "Oh, how did you start a business in 2008?" That was a recession, right? It was out of necessity. And it's so funny that you asked me the question about was I always an entrepreneur? And the answer is no. And I did not even want to be one in 2008, honestly. But it's funny how God has other plans for you. And so, no, my previous experience, though, I have to say, led up to the point of me starting my business, which, um, when I was younger, I started how many kids do in fast food. But I learned some great things just in the fast food, of customer service and managing people's expectations and just being able to work with a staff and a crew. If you think about it, you learn all those things when you're 16 years old and you're working at a burger joint, you know?
True.
And you don't even realize that you're learning it until years later and you look back and you realize that's part of your resume or your career building steps that you're taking. So, I went from fast food to a clothing retail store to a jewelry store, where I was part-time Christmas help, and they asked me to stay on as a part-time bookkeeper. I said, I don't know anything about bookkeeping, but if you will teach me, absolutely, because I thought it was a great company.
See, there's that
And
spirit.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's that's one of the things I think entrepreneurs have is that attitude of, I don't know how to do it, but if you'll show me, or I will figure it out, right? That's what we do is we figure it out. So maybe I had the spirit for a very long time. I just didn't realize that's what it was. And so, with that jewelry store, after becoming a bookkeeper, I found myself throwing my name in the hat to be a bookkeeping supervisor over 2 states and cities here in Houston, San Antonio, Austin. I had stores, and in Louisiana I had 3 stores that I was responsible for. And so I was traveling at the age of 21 with a company car, an expense account, and I was managing people and did not know what the heck I was doing, honestly. I mean, and I was in awe that I was even in that position. Um, but at that job, I had to learn to hire and fire. I had to let somebody go who was older than myself, and that was very difficult. My supervisor over me role played that with me to teach me what to say, how to say it, So the training was really, really important during that job. And so I think I've always been in a position where I loved working with people, um, just being able to help manage people's expectations, bring out the best in them, whatever that is, whatever their skill set is to help them thrive. And so, from jewelry to newspaper advertising, magazine advertising, working at the chamber, all of those were very customer service centric. And that when I started my business and I was thinking of the name of my business, I really, the I Promote You name came to me because that's what I do for people that I know and I work with. I'm going to promote whoever I feel like has the need, whoever reaches out to me and says, can you help? And I have a servant's heart. So the answer is always yes. What can I do? What can I do? And so, like I said, in 2008, I did not have that entrepreneurial spirit, desire, any of that. But I did find myself that year, a couple major things happened that year. Three major things, I guess. Um, yeah, three major things. So I was working with a health coach and learning to eat better, better care of myself, and was trying to figure out how to break this pattern that I had of selecting the wrong people to be involved in my life, specifically the wrong men. People used to tease me and say my picker was broken. And so I wanted to figure out how to fix it, because I started thinking about things and realizing for all those bad relationships, I was the common denominator. And when I took ownership of that and realized, and I took responsibility for my piece of that story, the light bulb went off. I just heard you mention to Angela how things shifted, how they shift. It did. It absolutely shifted. The man I'm married to now was in my life at that time, and he was right in front of me the whole time. And I feel like God was just waiting for me to have that light bulb go off and realize you deserve this kind of man. You deserve someone who treats you with the utmost respect and love and care, and who is attentive to your needs, and before that, I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that. So that was the first thing that happened, was that major shift.
This is all while working with a health coach?
Working with a health coach.
Okay.
She gave me a book. She gave me a book called Change Your Life in 30 Days by Rhonda Britton.
Okay.
And that is what shifted everything, because that book, I'm going to tell you, it took me years to finish the book. It's only supposed to take 30 days.
30 days? I'm like, wait a minute, what's the title again?
Yes, but it was hard. It's homework. It's, you had to dissect your life in a sense and figure out what things make you unhappy or stressed. And then you had to imagine your life without those things in it. And how do you feel? And then what do you have to do to maintain that feeling? Right?
Wow.
It was hard.
Well,
it was very
you
hard.
don't even know what life looks like when you've been so busy doing it for everybody else. I can see why that would take a year. Like, to just get quiet even.
Really, I put the book down several times because it was so intense. It literally probably took me 4 years to finish the book, because I would go backwards and rework a chapter before I moved forward again. So, I encourage anybody who's trying to work on themselves to really do that self-reflection. Just go inside and figure out, what situations are going on and what's the role that you're playing, and why are you playing that role? Where does that come from? Because that will definitely help you move forward. So that was in the early part of 2008. And then summertime, I decided I love to ride on the back of motorcycles. Absolutely love it. had many friends at the time that were riding, and they would call and say, hey, let's go for a ride. It's a beautiful day. But I thought to myself, I'm going to take a safety class and see if I like to drive. Because if I do, the next year I was going to buy myself a bike for my birthday and not have to wait on anybody anymore.
Right? It's beautiful outside. I'm going by myself. I don't need y'all.
Exactly. And so, and I have to say, I was single at the time. My husband and I didn't start dating until summertime of 2008 as well. But I had an accident in the class, in the safety class, about an hour before it was over. It was a 2-day boot camp kind of thing. And I had an accident on the bike, and it went over, and it landed on my leg, and it shattered my tibia. And at the time, I was working for a local company, and we did not have health insurance. I didn't have a huge savings, and they had to call an ambulance to come and take me to the hospital. I called my husband, then boyfriend, and said, hey, do you know where Houston Northwest Hospital is? And he said, no. I said, well, if I tell you how to get there, will you come? He's like, what happened? I said, oh, I hurt my leg in the
I
class.
hurt my leg.
I hurt my leg. Yeah. I wasn't crying. I wasn't hysterical. I didn't cry until they actually had to take the x-ray. Okay. That's when it hurt. And that's when I cried.
Oh.
Anyway, what ended up happening with that is I had to have surgery. They had to put a plate and 8 pins in my leg. I was going to be off for 3 months, basically 2 months of no weight on it. And then that last month, yes, I could start putting some pressure on it. But I was an outside salesperson for a local company. And so that basically took me off the road. And I started just really praying, because during that time, I didn't feel like a very valued employee at the time. This was a horrible accident that happened. I was having major debt being incurred because of no health insurance and having to have the surgery. And so I just started praying, and I was like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? Should I go and interview with another company? Should I just get out of the industry I'm in altogether and just go to work for a nonprofit, because I have such a heart for nonprofits and I love working with them? And I just kept hearing him say, start your own business. And I kept telling him, no way.
I can hear it now. Start your own business and stay off the bike.
Yes. Yes. Don't get on another bike.
No more motorcycles. That's not in your future.
Right. And I haven't been on another bike actually since then, only because Randy doesn't drive. He doesn't ride. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I guess it all worked out for the best, right?
Right? Yes.
Yeah. So
what did that voice sound like? I mean, here you are. Are you fearful because you're bedridden? You're 100%, I guess, outside sales commission. So that's
right.
Dried up. You
got. So I'm a single person. Yeah, I'm
single.
a single person, straight commission, and I had been with that company for 3.5 years, and so I had a good base built. Good customer base. And he's telling me to start my business. And yes, I'm very scared, because I don't know. I don't even know how I should do that, why I should do it was just so scary, because not even enough savings to say, okay, for 6 months I can handle if I don't make any sales or make very little. No, I didn't have any of that because of the accident. Right? All of that was gone. So there was no safety net. Truly. And so finally I just said, okay, Lord, listen, if this is really you, I need you to hit me over the head with something really hard and let me know that it's from you. And Jen, I'm not kidding. Within probably a couple of hours, I got a phone call from my best client. And she said, hey, I know you're still on medical leave. She said, but you know that order I placed with you right before your accident? I said, yes. She said, I still don't have it. And this was like 2 months into, after the surgery. She should have gotten the order 6 weeks before that. So I said, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Let me call the office and see what's going on. And I called the office, and all I got was, no, we didn't place the order. I didn't even ask any questions. I just said, okay, thank you. And I hung up the phone. And I have to tell you that there was a little bit of time while God was talking to me that I was like, if I'm going to start my own business, how would I even do this? What do I do? I reached out to the Small Business Development Center. I got one of the counselors to come and visit me at my apartment to talk to me about where do I start? What things do I consider? All of that. And so he had me write a business plan. So all of that was done. The name was created, everything, about 2 weeks before God hit me with that customer calling me with that. So it was like, it was all in the works, but I just needed that one last push. Right. And
Goosebumps.
so, yeah. So I called my customer back and I said, hey, can I come see you? And she said, can you come see me? And she said, because I can come to you if you need. I said, no, it's my left leg and I can drive now. I'm not on pain pills anymore, you know? And she says, okay. I was still on crutches though. And so I went to her office and I asked her if I could close the door. And I said, I have good news and bad news. I said, the bad news is this something you should know about me. If I have good news and bad news, I'm always going to give you the bad news first because I want to end on a good note with the good news.
Right? Right?
So, yeah. So I told her, I said, the bad news is your order was not placed and is not in production. And she used expletives I'd never heard her use before. And I just kind of, sat back for a second and she said, what is the good news? And I said, well, the good news is if you will call and cancel that order and cut me a check for the deposit, I'll have your order in your hands within 2 weeks. You'll be my first customer in my business. She's done. She picked up the phone right then, canceled the order, called accounting, had them cut a check. I mean, the whole thing. And it was just amazing. I mean, from there was no denying. There was no denying. And so, for the first 6 months, Jen, you talk about being scared. For the first 6 months, prayer was, Lord, please let me pay my bills. That's all I cared about. I didn't want to go into any further debt. I didn't want to be homeless. I didn't want to have to go live with my parents or whatever. And so I was just like, just let me pay my bills, Lord. And after 6 months, I had another light bulb that went off and said, Dawn, he gave you this business. He told you to start this business. Relax. You will be successful. You're going to be great. And I was like, wow, okay, there's so much peace in that when you settle into that spot and just know you are where you are supposed to be. So after that, no more prayer like that. It was just things picked up and picked up and picked up. And it's been 12 years now. I celebrated 12 years in 2020. And I have to say 2020 is not a great revenue year, not a great revenue year, but I will say we've maintained, okay, and we've done some really great things in 2020 actually, because I'm also of the mindset to be a lifelong learner. And so I have certifications in my industry that I had never had time to do before. So this year I took the time, I got my certification. I became hub certified with the state of Texas because again, was one thing I'd never had time to do was gather that, you know, thick packet of paperwork about your business so that they thoroughly vet you before you could be certified as a hub business, which is historically underutilized business in the state of Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I've
And
never even
so,
heard of that. So that's
yeah, yeah. So it's what happens is you are able to, once you become hub certified, they put you on a website and in a database for any government agency, any university. Um, Basically, I think probably anybody could access it. If you need a specific type of product, all of these companies are listed and they have been vetted by the state of Texas to say that they are a good, reputable company. They're stable, they're this, they're that. And so you can feel comfortable about reaching out to them for your order. So that's what it's for. And yeah, so I mean, so I've been in business for 12 years and there were things that I did for the first time this year because I had the time to actually do it. So when
which is
people
going to
talk to
launch you. Yeah, totally launch you into 2021.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think when people talk to me about 2020 and they are very negative about it, I have to say it was not a negative year for me. Did it kind of stink because I don't get to see my mom all the time? Yes. And be with my family? Yes. But there are so many positive things that I feel like are coming out of it. So, I'm gonna keep my eyes on those things.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I'm like what you focus on and where your energy goes is, what you're gonna where it flows. So, and what you're gonna bring to you. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to dive in more on, this voice, this calling. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what does that look like? What does that sound like? How do you know it's God? Or how do
Well,
you know?
so recently I heard from someone, because I'm listening to a lot of podcasts and things recently. I've heard that if it is from God, it is for you, right? And so I realized I don't have to question the voice anymore. Um, and it's almost like your intuition and just that little thing in the back of your mind where you feel like, oh, I should call so and so, or I should do this. It's even that type of little voice, those small directions that a lot of times we dismiss because we're focused on something else, or whatever it is. um, it is that. And so I have to say there's been a lot of, I guess, soul searching about being able to be obedient and attentive and aware to guidance, um, because it is hard, and sometimes I still dismiss that. And when I do, darn it, I'm so mad at myself, because sure enough, if I would have listened, I would have been on that right track, and something else wouldn't have happened the way it happened. So you have to be aware, and you have to know that, um, we all experience challenges and negative situations and all of that, but there's always a path out. And if we can focus on that path, then it's going to be, in my mind, for the glory of your testimony. you know it that's what you're doing, is every step of your journey you're building an amazing testimony to share with somebody else who needs that encouragement, who needs to just hear that they're not in it alone, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so many, it seems, people that I'm just having conversations with have decided, okay, a 9 to 5 gig isn't for me anymore. I want to do something different. But I'm also finding, and that's why we're here, is that they don't have the business plan. They don't have, yes, they've listened to that voice, but now how do we structure it and how do we make it work?
Yeah.
So you go from that voice to, okay, I'm going to come see you. Well, you've got one client, so now what do you do?
Right.
Where
Yeah.
do you
I
go from
mean, it teaches you, I think this year, even if you want to use 2020, but even when I started my business, these challenges teach you really what you're made of. And you've got to dig deep and figure out, how do I make this work? If, and when I first started, I had to have the mindset that I was working for somebody else, because that's how I stayed accountable to myself. Because it was like, I've got to answer to somebody else. So I can't, you know, be daydreaming over here. I can't go shopping during the day because I don't have a client meeting right now. Um, I do a little bit more of that now,
there? Right?
the shopping thing. But when you're first starting your business, you've got to just put your whole focus into that. And so I always just kind of had the attitude that there was somebody else that I was going to answer to. And so I don't like to be that person who tells you, I didn't get that done, because I don't want to make excuses. I'm just going to tell you I didn't get it done. I guess it wasn't a priority, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real about it. But so the thing is okay, how do you get started? Well, you let people know what you're doing, right? I mean, if you're working on getting clients, you just start picking up the phone, or pre-COVID, driving down the feeder, and people that you know that are in these businesses, you stop by and say, hey, I just wanted to say hello, tell you about my new gig that I'm doing. If you ever need my services, here's my card and I'd love to help you. I'm not trying to steal business from anybody. I'm just trying to let my contacts know this is what I'm doing now. This is where you can find me. And I will be seeing you at the next networking event, because again, it's really important. Keep your face out there, whether it's Zoom calls, whether it's in person, whether it's picking up the phone, sending an email, doing your social media, all those things, they all work together to keep you top of mind, and people will start feeling like they're seeing you everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you've got all those touches that you can do. So that's really, that is really what it was all about for me, is just reaching out to people that I knew in the community, because I'd been out here, I don't know, since the early 90s. And so when I started my business, it was one of those things. I knew so many people in the community. So I just utilized the chamber and just said, hey, I'm going to start calling contacts that I have and letting them know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's how I got it started.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, so true. I think that as entrepreneurs, we're like, okay, we have this vision. We've been given this vision. It should just come to me.
No, it should not.
It should just come to me. It should just show up, Dawn. Come on.
It's like my single friends who don't go out. Okay. They sit on the couch and they watch Netflix or whatever, and they say, I can't find a good man. Well, of course you can, because God's not going to just plop him on your couch unless he's an AC repairman or a plumber. I mean,
But then
right?
you have tragedy, and yeah, they're stressed out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but it's so true. It's like, all right, you have to take action. Now you've listened to the voice, and you have started to put things together to say, yes, I'm going to do this business, but you have to take steps. God can't move you forward if you're standing still, right? I mean, he can drive the car, but you got to push the gas pedal.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me too. Like you said, people do sometimes think it just happens. It will just come to me. No, you've got to put some work into it. And sometimes it's very long hours. Sometimes you get a lot of rejection, but I also think use your network, your girlfriends, your, whoever, your tribe, whoever it is. All you have to do is tell them, this is what I'm doing. This is what I need. And women talk. And so, okay, you need a bookkeeper because you don't do books, but you have a business, and you want to contract that out so that you don't have to think about that, and it's done correctly. Well, you need to form your LLC. You can't do that on your own. You need an attorney. You need that business plan. Call the Small Business Development Center. It's no charge for those guys to help you out. There's all kinds of resources, but unless you are open and willing to, number one, ask for the help, and number two, accept the help.
Yeah, and that one's hard. So
it is hard.
Yeah. Asking and accepting. I'm like, yeah, especially I think being single and single moms, we kind of there's a different grit. You're like, I got this, I can do it on my own. But in business, family even. I'm like, kids, it takes a village. And it
does take a village.
In business, it takes a village.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so you should never think that you're in it alone. That's for sure. And there's always someone that you can find that has gone through a situation that you can relate to, or that they can relate to you. They can help you solve that problem. Don't reinvent the wheel. That's the biggest thing. It's like every entrepreneur has the same basic issues, concerns, and challenges. Tap into that and ask them, how did you resolve this? How did you handle this? Jen, one of the great things about my industry in this community is I have a lot of competitors in this community. And if we weren't all in the same industry, we would all be such great friends together and hang out and have wine and things like that, and talk. But we do get together and we have lunch
Yeah.
and we talk about industry, we talk about suppliers, we talk about customers, we talk about employee challenges. It's beautiful. It is beautiful because we're sitting across from each other and we're humans. We're not competitors. There's no cattiness. There's no pettiness. There's none of that. And that is, in my mind, one of the most unique things about our community is that we've got that kind of, I guess, attitude, business attitude
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that kind of camaraderie.
Yes,
Yeah, there really is. There's enough for everybody, and everybody is uniquely serving the market.
that's right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and that is so powerful to be able to lift other people up. Because Jerome was on first thing this morning, and that was his, to be able to serve and to pour into somebody, to elevate that. When they raise, you raise the whole tide.
that's right.
The whole tide raises. It really does. Um,
Yeah.
so what would you say are some other unique challenges that you've overcome as an entrepreneur, and your grit that you've had to face? I'm like, long hours for sure. I love that you're accountable, that you kept yourself accountable, because it's hard. I'm like, I think a lot of people have found out in COVID, it's hard to go to work when your work is in your living room.
True. And how many people are using the COVID environment to say, well, I'm working from home, so I don't have to get dressed for work. That's one thing. Um, and you may not agree with this, Jen, I don't know, but that was one thing for me. When I started the business, I didn't have an office space, so I had to work out of my apartment. But I was trained throughout my years of experience to get up and shower, makeup, hair, everything, get ready to go to work and be at my desk at a certain time. I continued to do that when I started my business. I continue to do that today. There is not a day unless I'm completely off work, like the Christmas holidays coming up. I will be off for the week of Christmas. I will stay in my pajamas and maybe I'll come in here and look at things in my office, but I'm not working.
Yeah.
That's because I'm off the radar. On a work day, I am dressed, sitting at my desk, ready to go. And the biggest thing that I think that does for me is it keeps my head professional.
Yeah.
I believe that it gives me an edge over those that maybe have their jammy bottoms on, or, they're just, I don't know. I just think it's a mindset. I really do. I think it's a mindset.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, mindset is everything, but those habits and forming those success rituals, man, that has been key, is knowing that I'm showing up for myself, not for anybody else. Knowing that I'm going to get this done because I said that I was going to do it. And so yeah, it takes everything to another level. But it also takes off all this pressure. Like at the same time, knowing that I am the person that I say that I am makes the outside world. I think Angel and I were talking about this, is it makes the outside world easier because you're authentic.
Right.
So
yeah, and that's so true. I mean, I am the same way. What you see is what you get.
yeah.
I'm not any different at home or in front of anybody else. It's just me. I'm a little quirky. I'm a lot playful, but I'm also very professional when we're talking about business. And so, yeah, that's just the realm of my personality, I guess. But you're right. For women especially, we don't put ourselves first often. And when you're an entrepreneur, that's what you have to do. You have to put yourself first. This business is you. It is your name. It is your reputation. And you are building that. You are teaching the world how to treat you, right?
I love it. Yes. Say it again. You are teaching the
Yeah.
world how to treat you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that is so powerful in just that. If you have that mindset, you're starting your business. How are you going to present yourself to me?
Yeah. 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 I don't have shoes on today, but I'm wearing pants.
You're wearing pants. There you
Wearing
go.
pants. But and yeah, it's so easy to get distracted and not and put it off. Okay, or I'm just gonna do this. My morning routine is my morning routine. And even when I do give myself a little break, Thanksgiving, and then so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it was like, okay, I took a break for those 3 days, but man, I felt it. And then the beauty in that now is that I'm a leader enough in my own life that I know what it takes to get myself back on track. So I'm
Right.
not derailed like I used to be. I mean, stuff like that would derail me for months at a time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And just knowing that and knowing what it takes and holding yourself accountable, I think is key.
Yeah, but I do agree. It's self-awareness, definitely. But I agree also that there are times when you're going to have to give yourself some grace. You know,
Yeah.
don't be too hard on yourself. I mean, be tough enough, but don't be too hard on yourself when you've got some major things going on in life and in work. You've got to figure out, hopefully you've got a good tribe of supportive people who will listen to you and just let you vent, if that's what you need, or if you need to sit and do meditation to help you with your stress level. But that's all part of taking care of yourself for your business as well, because it helps you with your mindset. It helps you think more clearly. It re-energizes you and gives you the opportunity to be more creative. And so those things are not selfish. Having a glass of wine with a girlfriend to be able to vent can do wonders for your business. Meditating can do wonders for your business, but there's still self-care. And
Yeah.
so that's what's so important, is you realize it's beneficial on both sides. And I think a lot of women think, oh, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time to go visit with that friend, or I don't have time to, pick up the phone and call. Yes, you do,
Yeah,
because
you don't
you're
have
a
time not
priority.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't. And I love that you brought in meditation because, yeah, when I added that into my morning routine and even just my routine in general, man, it was life changing. And
Yeah.
I say that, but at the same time, it was hard to start.
It is hard. Because I think your mind is very much like mine, where I wonder, and it's like, okay, refocus,
Yes.
focus on my breathing, just being still and quiet. Yes, it's very difficult because things want to creep in all the time when it gets quiet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I started bringing a notepad and a pen, and just, if it's really something, I will jot it down, and then I dismiss it, and I'm
Yeah.
able to move forward.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have a journal right there because I, in that quiet time, I get amazing clarity.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's something about you plug in and it's like you get these downloads of what your next step is. And then the opportunities start presenting themselves.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. So when when you have actually listened and you've obeyed and you've started on the path, it's amazing the doors that open, the people that come into your life who are just the people at that time. You know, that's how
yeah.
it all works.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. My meditation practice, like I was writing about this this past weekend. Yeah, my meditation practice literally started with 5-minute visualizations. And it was, okay, I can't do this in the bed because I keep falling asleep.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'll set my alarm for earlier, but I still have to get out of bed. So literally set my alarm for like 30 minutes earlier. And then I just had to make it to my yoga mat that was in my room, and my blanket could come with me.
Okay.
But you had to start somewhere. I had to start somewhere, and I had to start taking that quiet time. And Danette May was actually, it was a program that I had downloaded. It all started with health, like for you, it started with health. And once I controlled that and took ownership of my health, then other things started to fall into place. There was a clarity that came with that showing up as a leader for
Yeah.
myself with my diet, my nutrition, and my exercise.
Yeah.
And then that into meditation and visualization, and man, it just keeps growing. I mean, it's fun now. I'll have days here and there, like a Sunday or something, that I may not get out of my PJs. I may spend an hour and a half in meditation, and
Hmm.
just drinking it in and just feeling that connection I'm totally recharged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally
And full
recharged.
of peace, full of peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And a new vision, has kind of come out of that.
Hmm.
Um, so being a pillar in this community for as many years as you have, but even any community, I think you have a unique aspect to what community is, having worked for the chamber. Where would people start? Yes, there's the small business that they can go to for business plans.
Right.
But if they're not here in the Woodlands, where they're Midwest or South Dakota or whatever, I mean, kind of where do you tell people to start?
So I do tell people to start with their local chamber of commerce. Look and see if there is one. If there isn't, see if there is a business association, if there are business networking opportunities in whatever city or town that you're in, and start there, because you need to figure out, you need to learn your community, your business community. If you live there and you have not done anything in business before, and you've just been a resident for however long, you know one aspect or one side of that community, you don't know the other. So that's a great place to start, is checking out your local chamber of commerce. Maybe you have a visitor and convention center, um, and you could go there and talk to them as well, just to find out, what organizations are available here. Heart for nonprofit, look up a nonprofit, maybe one that has just kind of tugs at your heartstrings, and get involved there. It really kind of depends on what your business is, but you can never go wrong when you're helping somebody else, right? I mean, typically you want to take the focus off of yourself, and you want it to be about serving others, and however you can do that, because the best way to get a referral is when you give to somebody else and you've given them that feeling of love, acceptance, and peace. They will look for ways to help you with your business. They will find ways.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying to do that for that reason. That is just an organic thing that happens. And so I always encourage people, think about what you're passionate about. What type of is it children? Is it senior citizens? Is it veterans? What is it that kind of tugs at your heartstrings? And then find a place to plug in to be able to serve that community and grow your business, even in that aspect of it. Because you're going to meet people, volunteer next to people who might be able to help you. So,
Yeah. Yes. So true. So you kind of touched on it. What would you say is your morning routine? I mean, what time are you at work every morning, Dawn?
well, my routine has changed somewhat, Jen. This year in February, my husband and I took in our two youngest granddaughters, who are ages 5 and 3.
Oh, how fun.
Yes. So Yes, and I'm still awake right now, and,
Right?
yeah, and I do have some energy. No, um, they have been, challenging and amazing, and it has been, one of those again, one of those experiences that you don't wish you had, but you're really glad that you've got the opportunity to, spend with them and to help give them a solid foundation, and so our routine in the morning, my husband gets up much earlier than I do. He's up about 3:30 doing his meditation.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously. Yeah.
Like,
I
okay, if
don't
y'all have not met this man, he's just a beautiful soul. And
yes. He
but that's
absolutely is.
impressive. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No
And
wonder
I
he's
mean
so peaceful.
he that's right. That's right. Up with no alarm. He just 3:30, he's awake. He goes in and meditates. He does have an alarm set for about 10 minutes till 5 to come and wake me up at 5 o'clock. He brings me coffee in bed. Yes. And still after all these
I'm
years, I have
taking
to say.
notes.
No, and so I will sit and I will drink my coffee and I'll watch the news and uh, I tease about this, but it's kind of serious. He doesn't speak to me until I speak to him first in the morning.
I love
And
it.
it's because I used to be a really grumpy person in the morning and just his happiness was just, I don't know, too much for me. Because he really does wake up that way. He really does. What you see is what you get with him as well. But it's, yes, I think it was too much. And so he's learned through the years, don't talk to me until I speak first. And he's really good about that now. And but it doesn't take me long. A couple sips of coffee and I'm talking usually. So I sit and just I'll watch the news for about 30 minutes. Um, my meditation is pretty short in the morning because the way the routine has to go now. And so there's about 10 minutes of meditation and then it is jumping in the shower, getting makeup on. Our girls are getting up during this time, and so Papa is making breakfast for them. By that time, I'm ready. They're finishing up breakfast. They've made their beds. They're getting dressed. I have to do hair. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole
Oh
thing.
man, I
Yeah,
miss those days a little bit.
yeah. You can come and spend the night anytime you want to get
I
that.
might take you up on that because I do
Yeah.
miss those days of being able to do the hair and dress them however you wanted. And oh,
Well, I don't know. Ages 3 and 5, they like to pick out their own clothes, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not so fashion conscious yet. So you got to be careful.
It's eclectic what they
It
wear.
is it is quite eclectic. Although I have encouraged them to, put solids with prints and things like that instead of just all print and not matching. It's so funny. Anyway, so the 5-year-old, we have to meet the bus at 7:15. They pick her up. So typically that's me. I'll meet the bus. I come back to the house and I sit down at my desk because I'm dressed, I'm ready to go. And so my day starts a little earlier now. So I'm usually sitting at the desk by 7:20 or so. And then she gets off the bus at 20 minutes to 4. And so most days I meet her at the bus and my day starts winding down. Right before that, I may take care of a couple of other things in the afternoon while she's here. If she wants me to put a movie on or something and she's watching that, I've got a few minutes on the computer. But otherwise, she gets home and I shut down because she needs the attention. And so, yeah, so it's like the routine is just kind of, you know,
It's
very different.
evolved.
It has evolved. Yes. Yeah.
It's evolved just a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
So, what does your day kind of typically look like? Are you still out making those connections? Are you still making the calls? You're still nurturing those?
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened when everything kind of shut down is I started making phone calls to my customers and just checking on them, making sure they were okay. How was their family? Was there anything that they needed that I could do? Because, I am out and about a little bit more than, some people are. And so even if it was, can I run an errand for you? What can I do for you? How can I help you? It was that kind of phone call. And, when things, I guess, settled a little bit, I am part of Business Networking International. We're still meeting via Zoom. My American Business Women's Association, we're still meeting via Zoom. Montgomery County Association of Business Women is meeting via Zoom. So Chamber of Commerce is in person. I went to the breakfast this morning, actually, and there were, I don't know, 50 plus people there.
Yeah, it looked like it was kind of a good crowd. A few people had posted. So yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
cool to see people venturing out.
Yes, absolutely. And so it is a good combination of, online and in person. I'd like to have a little more in person, but that's okay. I'm just glad to have the in person that we do have right now, because I was feeling the energy drain from not being able to be around people, even though I was seeing them on the screen. I'm a hugger, and so I get energy from other people that way. And just, I'm really glad that it's starting to open up a little bit. And I want everybody to be careful, of course, and don't come out if you don't feel comfortable doing that. um, I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable situation by any means, but
Right.
yeah, so it's been a combination of things for us, during the last few months on networking.
How would you say that you kind of game planned? So things are starting to shut down. What was really kind of the mindset and the shift? Is it so you have a team? You have a team now, or it's you? I know you have
So
somebody that does your social.
yeah, so I have a couple of people that contract with me. I had an assistant; she was furloughed when all of this happened, and the first shutdown happened mid March. We already had started feeling the decline in business, um, or it affected our business in December of last year.
Wow.
Things started um, feeling a little bit strange. We knew something was going on. January was not as good as it typically was. February was a little strange. And then mid-March, everything shut down. And, when the official shutdown happened, um, it was one of those, I just want to stay in bed and cover my head. I mean, I just because it was crickets. You could hear crickets in my office. No emails, no phone calls, nothing, no business. Um, okay, that's really scary. Really scary. What are we going to do? Because, you know, I have bills to pay. I have a family to feed, because now I've got the two little ones here who just
Yeah.
came a month before. Life had already kind of turned upside down for us, and then the shutdown. And so I would say probably for a good week, I was kind of walking around in a daze or a haze, trying to figure out, what do I do? What can I do? And again, with that self awareness, I know that sometimes I have to give myself time to have my little pity party, or just to wallow in whatever that depression, or that fear, or whatever it is. The difference is I don't stay there. The difference is I pull myself out, because it's like, all right, I'm done with that. Now let's move forward. And when the shutdown happened, and I decided, okay, I'm finished with all of the depression and the whatever, which probably was a week, I started figuring out, what can I do? Since we can't go out in person, what networking events can I jump onto via Zoom? So I joined a new organization to me, that was meeting on Friday mornings via Zoom. And I thought, well, shoot, they start at 7:30. The meeting did. I'm dressed, ready to go. I can be on Zoom at 7:30. This is perfect. And so this was a whole new group of people I did not know. So that helped to begin with. It wasn't just going to be the same people that I know through the community. This was a whole new group of people. And so that kind of charged me, and it excited me that I found something that had that new contact sphere. And then I started thinking about BNI. Okay, they're doing via Zoom. I can do that too. So I was just looking for some different avenues that I was not a part of pre-COVID, and that would fit into my work schedule now, because of the how it had been altered. in February. And so that's what we did moving forward. It was implementing those new networking opportunities. It was making phone calls to our clients, making sure they were okay. And just every opportunity, whether it was social media, trying to work on that. So I started kind of working on some foundational pieces of the business, so that once we get out of COVID, I felt like I didn't want to be one of those leaders that said, oh, we're going to wait until 2021. We're going to wait until the vaccine. We're going to wait until, what are you waiting for?
Right?
I
Yes.
mean, don't you still need to eat, be clothed, and pay your bills? Because I do. Yeah, so I'm not of the mindset to sit and wait. I'm going to try to figure out this is an obstacle for me. So how do I go through it, over it, under it, around it? What are my options here? And I'm going to try, maybe several of them. Maybe I'm just going to pick the one that I feel like is the best for me, and I'm going for it. So
I love that you said context fear. Like, yeah, I've never heard that. So kind of, where did you come up with that? And
gosh, I don't know. It is, that's just how I felt about this group. That's
yeah,
just, and the group is called Reveille, in case any of your viewers know what Reveille is. It's an Aggie-based networking group. They typically meet at Luby's in the Woodlands every Friday. And we are back to in-person meetings now. So I did transition from Zoom with them to the in-person, and I've joined the group. It's a great group of people, but it's every one of their reasons or purpose for having the group are in alignment with my core values that I'm all about too. So it was a good fit for me.
nice,
So
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you said that, that was like a light bulb moment, context fear, because I feed on that. Like, and I think kind of all of us do. Like, we need that carrot that is out there
Yeah.
to keep us motivated and to put us into uncomfortable situations so that, I don't know, it's kind of like we blossom in those tough times. Um, yeah, I don't know why.
I
I
think,
mean,
well, I think some people blossom. I think other people, seriously, I think that other people come to terms with the fact that they're happy with the status quo,
yeah,
right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I know I'm not that way, and I know you're not that way.
yeah,
um, I am always looking for a, a way to make things better, whether it is in my business, in my personal life, the professional side of things, in my community. It's just, I'm always looking for that opportunity.
yeah,
And I've come to find out that not everyone is that way.
yeah. No, I mean, I can't tell you how terrifying it was to walk into my first chamber event, or, even a Zoom where I don't know people. It's like, yes, I mean, there's just that fear that's there, but it's also so rewarding. Like, when you you did it, like, okay, and I didn't die.
That's right.
I didn't die.
And you met some nice people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have some new friends,
Yes.
Yes, for sure, for sure. But that's interesting. Yeah, that's going to stick with me because I see that has played out in so much in different aspects of my life, not just business, but yeah, like I'm a workout junkie, but I'm only going to do the newest and latest greatest for 6 weeks. Like 6 weeks is my max. And then I'm like, okay, on to the next new thing.
Yeah.
But I've
Well, see,
embraced that.
yes, and that's great that you know that about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people go through and they do things and they have these patterns and they don't even know why, right? Or they don't even recognize the pattern until somebody else points it out to them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
So I do think that it's interesting just to be able to get to know yourself as well as you can. But I'm the same way that you are in. I get that anxiety sometimes about having to walk into a room where I don't know people. Um, Typically, when that happens, though, I take a deep breath. It's probably a deep cleansing breath, and I move forward and I take that step. And I believe that is one of the things that has kept me, I think, going and growing, because you can you can do it. You just have to have faith in yourself. And so many of us concentrate on our insecurities, the things that we're lacking. And you know what? Everybody else is doing the same thing. They're feeling the same way. But we all can exude that confidence until we get it. What was the phrase when I was growing up? Fake it till you make it. I mean, I honestly did that. When I first came to this community, Jen, I was so scared to talk to people. Um, if you would have known me in high school, I wouldn't even make eye contact with you in high school. I was just,
Which I think we have had this conversation, and I always found that crazy because, yeah,
I mean, I was scared of people. And I guess I was always insecure about just myself. And I always felt like, okay, I'm a little quirky, so people aren't going to like me, whatever. I don't know what it was from, but nowadays, here's what I find so interesting is I have been on several organizations directors, and every time I look around that room, and in the beginning I think, oh God, what am I doing here? How did I get here? You know, I mean, these people are real movers and shakers. And about my second or third meeting, I'm taking the deep breath, going, you know what? I belong here. I got a spot here. There's a reason I'm here. I am bringing something to the table here. I have a whole different perspective from this group of people, and that's why I'm here.
yeah,
So, just realizing what your strength is and what it is, where you can add value, man, you're gonna get rid of all that insecurity, and you're just gonna feel a peace about it and just realize this is why I'm
yeah,
here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
yeah. Well,
So,
it's so true. You do. It's like you can stand in that confidence and that clarity, and it's this inner power that it gives you to. Mine is so funny. I'm like, nailed it. Like this is my power pose right here. Nailed it. And I'm gonna walk through that door. I'm like, I'm gonna nail it. I'm gonna do it. And yeah,
yeah,
it's not. Yeah, it's that deep cleansing breath, but it's the time that you spent quiet too. I think that gives you that power.
yeah. It's funny. My mom, when I worked for the jewelry store, um, I went through sales training. And like I said, as shy as I was in high school, I went through this sales training. And my mom came to the store to have lunch with me one day. And she showed up, and I was working with a customer. And she watched me through the sales process with this customer. And when we walked out of the store to go to lunch, she said, oh my gosh. And she just had tears in her eyes. She said, you were like a butterfly. And I said, that is so sweet. I said, but I don't know what you mean by that. And she said, you just opened up, and you were so friendly, and you were so knowledgeable, and you worked with that person. Now, I didn't make the sale, because what they taught us is if you run into some objections, to turn it over to someone a little more experienced, or just different, a different salesperson, to see if they can close it. And so that's what I did. And that's when we left to go. She was like, but why did you turn it over? And I said, because I felt like the other person could probably close the sale and I couldn't. She said, oh my goodness. She said, I've never seen you like that. And she has made that comment to me several times throughout my life. And I think my mom sees the scared, insecure kid. So when she gets to see me in the professional realm now, That's the butterfly.
Yeah.
So she sees that growth and just how much I've come out of the shell. And you know, I think it's so interesting because it's like, you know, nobody knows you like your mom, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I know
it's
I got a text from mine at like 6:18 this morning saying, "Good luck, you've got this."
congratulations. Yeah, yeah, today's the day. Yeah,
No, and it is. I mean, it's so, man, I mean, that relationship even, that for me it wasn't always there.
yeah, mine either. Mine either.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't always there. It's been only really, I would say, well, the girls started it, my daughters kind of
Hmm.
started that because they had a relationship. And then as they became teens, and then it's just me like coming into my own and realizing that the past is the past. I'm like, I wasn't the best kid, I wasn't the best daughter all the time. So I think there was a lot of guilt there that I
Yeah.
didn't realize. That I kind of
Yeah.
I had to get rid of. Like I had to let it go because mom wasn't hanging on to it.
Yeah. See, and I had the opposite. My mom was hanging on to some things that happened in my childhood, and she had guilt, and she wouldn't let it go. And you know, it got to a point where I guess I was in my 30s, probably late 30s, and I just told her, I said, "Mom, we can't change any of that, and rehashing it is not doing any good for any of us. So can we just start fresh from today and move forward?" And, you know, I think there comes a time in every mom and daughter's life where you grow in the relationship and you kind of shift from being mother daughter to best friends. You know, you're two adult women, you've got that family bond, but you can tell her anything, you can talk about anything. And that is an amazing relationship. And so I'm really grateful she and I have had that for several years now. Because I can vent to her about anything. I can talk to her about anything. She talks to me, and it's just a great. I love, before all this COVID stuff, my parents would come to our house and we would, you know, have family barbecues and we would drink together and laugh together. And, you know, I loved hanging with my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, go shopping and just hang out and have drinks, just do whatever, like a girlfriend. That's what she is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. And family is so important, but I think also we kind of have this, and you're definitely in this situation now. You've got another generation that you're bringing up and leading. I'm like, I don't think that I really realized what an awesome mom that I was being until they've kind of gotten past the 13, 14 age. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're back around to but I mean, I'm just amazed by them. They inspire me and influence me. And yeah, there's really nothing. It's a crazy special bond that,
Yeah. And I think, you know, as moms, we're probably really hard on ourselves. But what you have to remember in your own mind is that the best you could with what you had at the time.
yeah,
And don't apologize for that ever.
yeah,
And once you own it that way, you know, for me and my kids, it was once I came to terms with it that way, and I let them know what you guys do now because you're adults, that's your choice.
yeah,
And it, so you weren't raised that way. You know right from wrong, but you make the choice.
yeah. Well, and I think that's, yeah, we can do is we give them the tools and the guidance, and then we set them free.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
giving you the tools I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
That's right. That's right.
If you want to tap into this wisdom and not do it that way, I'm
I
here
know.
for you.
I know. Well, we have a family tradition where our as mothers we say, "Don't do this because I did it that way, and look what happened." And darn it, if our daughters don't listen and you know?
Yeah.
And so I was just having a conversation with my daughter the other day. And I told her, I said, I don't know why we have this family tradition. I don't know why it's a pattern in our family. I said, but let's break it. Let's just decide to break it right now, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's funny because sometimes you look at your kids and go, "Gosh, didn't they ever listen to me when they were growing up? The things that I said to them." And my son was here probably, I don't know, a couple of months ago visiting from Colorado, and I had asked him. I wasn't feeling well or had something going on, and I asked him to vacuum my house for me. And okay, Mama, no problem. So he gets out the vacuum cleaner. Now, my son is 29, and so he vacuums. And I walked out into the living room, dining room area, and he was actually pulling the chairs out from the dining room table and under the table. And I looked at him, I said, "Oh my goodness." He said, "Hey, my mama taught me how to vacuum." I was like,
He's
"Oh,
getting
you
lines
did
in the carpet
it."
all good.
It's like,
you,
yes,
you did listen. You really were listening.
yes. Oh my goodness. It's so funny, those little victories you feel just so excited about.
Yes. Well, and even seeing them making decisions on their own, and I think, and I say kids, I'm like, it's with anything. I'm like, with anybody that you mentor or that
Yeah.
you invest in, um, you always want the best for them. You
Yeah.
want them to thrive and succeed. That when you see those aha moments and you see, like, oh, look, you did it, you didn't die.
Right.
I'm like, when you get those victory calls of like, oh my gosh, you said this and I did it, and I feel so amazing. And it's like, yes, you do feel so amazing. This is life. Like, it's not a river, it's like rapids and waterfalls, and there's some smooth sailing, but man, yeah.
Yeah. Don't
I,
get too comfortable though, because you're gonna hit that, you're gonna
yes.
hit the wave soon. Yeah.
And I
You're,
really didn't, I don't think that I knew that. Like, I don't know where that disconnect, like, why didn't I get that piece of the puzzle? Like, I have great work ethic. Like, I know how to work. I'm like, I had to be home, growing up at 5:30 to feed and walk the dogs at the kennel. So, I mean, I have that work ethic. I know what it is, but to know the actual grit and what it takes, and that there's fear involved, and that everybody has it and everybody faces it.
mhm.
Everybody's scared to walk in that room, or everybody's scared to do that, or I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I never know this? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what do they say? The number one fear is public speaking, right? And you think about it, in my days of working at the chamber, people would be reminded me how nervous they were to get up and talk. And I just told them, take a deep breath. But you know what? We are all here to support you. Nobody in this room wants to see you fail. They don't want you to fail.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
you know and I think sometimes people just need that little bit of encouragement. They need to know that, hey, what they're feeling is valid, right? That everybody feels it, like you said. There's one thing that I do every once in a while. We're talking about that voice, Jen, and one of the things that I do when I'm out and about, if I'm somewhere and there is, like in a restaurant, there's a server, a bartender, whoever, somebody that is kind of dealing with people and they're kind of running around, I stop them and I tell them, hey, in case nobody tells you today, you did an amazing job. And oh my goodness, I can't tell you the response that I get from people is, it stops them dead in their tracks,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, they just all of a sudden get that little bit of emotion and they're like, thank you. Like nobody has said to them that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So think about that. Whenever you guys, viewing this, when you
Yeah.
go out, if you deal with anyone, grocery store, restaurant, any kind of customer service rep or anything like that, please encourage them. you know, thank them for what they're doing, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, business owners, store managers, sometimes you get so wrapped up in things because our minds are so busy with the things of the business that we forget how important it is to let our people, our employees know that we appreciate what they're doing, that they're doing a good job. That is so important.
Yeah.
That does more for their morale than anything you could ever do.
Yeah. No, I get choked up on it because it's so true. I'm like, we just don't hear it enough that we're doing good.
Yeah.
You know, that, yeah, we are enough and you are enough and you're here for a purpose. And yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Man.
You must have needed to hear that today, Jen.
You know, it's just funny. I'm like, I'm such an empath and intuit that it just, I was gonna, yeah, there was no way I was gonna make it through today without crying. So I put it out there. Like, I've cried on Facebook Live already. So I'm like, I figure that was ripping the Band-Aid off for me. Yeah, that was ripping that Band-Aid off. So what are you planning for 2021? What does it look like?
So, I'm actually working on my 2021 goals. This is one thing I do want to say to everybody too, is think about getting a business coach if you need a coach, somebody that you can be accountable to. I have one for promotional products, which is amazing. And that's what we're working on right now is our 2021 revenue goals, but not just that. One of the things that I talking about getting out of your comfort zone and having fear. I have a desire, I feel like a calling to be a public speaker and to talk about some of the things that I've gone through in my life and how I've overcome them. And not just in the business realm, but personally as well. And then just leadership, talking about leadership. I feel very drawn to that, and especially very strongly right now. And so um, I have been working on the foundation of I Promote You because I want it to continue to grow and to thrive without me working in the business, so that I can continue to generate the opportunities to go and speak to other people. Um, and I don't know what that looks like yet. I just know um, God's definitely given me a vision for it. He actually showed me a picture, and I think I even shared with Angela a while back that I had a headshot done probably 2 years ago now with Chelsea Williams, and it's my favorite ever because she made me look so beautiful.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. Excuse me. When I saw this picture, the first thought was, "Oh, that's the back of my book," and I went, "I don't have a book. What is that?" So then
Oh, yeah. I'm like, love those goosebump moments. I'm
I
like,
know,
got all my
me too.
hair standing up.
I have them too, yes. So I started kind of praying about that and doing some meditation about that. And he actually gave me the name of the book. And so there it is, and there it sits. And it's been a little over a year. I've done nothing, done nothing. But that's kind of how God works with me. He has a pattern with me where he gives me something, and it takes about 2 years for it to come to fruition. But everything works together, and in about 2 years, here it is. And I often don't feel that I am working towards the goal because he is so stealth. He's got things going on that I am not even realizing. Oh my gosh, that's for that. So I think the foundational work that I worked on this year during COVID has to do with that. I think that I had some great opportunities. Being here is definitely one of those, but I'm looking forward to a little side business going on there with doing some speaking and sharing, and hopefully encouraging and inspiring some other women, especially, to not feel alone, to know that there's all kinds of challenges in the world, but you can absolutely not let that define you and ruin your future. You can use it to fuel you.
Yeah.
You can definitely use it to know what you don't want in your life anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited about that. And so I am subconsciously, I think, kind of working on that as well as and continuing to work on my 2021 goals for I Promote You. So
That's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited about it too.
Yeah. Man, I this realm of people, I will say, that I was introduced to whenever I, started in 2013 as an entrepreneur is just amazing. Like, I kind of feel there's just this wisdom that I've been imparted with by meeting, just like you're saying, the right people come in. I didn't know 7 years ago that we were going to be having this conversation,
Yeah, right.
So it's beautiful when we listen to that. And I love that you recognize that he's got a plan and how y'all work together.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I know he's not going to do it by himself.
Yeah.
It's like I can't sit on the couch and wait for it to all be done and then me just show up, right? That's not
Right.
how anything works.
No.
So, yeah.
And it's funny that even in those little moments, I love that you saw your book. I mean, it's just like that. And the title, boom, that's done. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it really is like when you had mentioned earlier about this voice that you heard and start your business. I mean, it's all of that. It's being diligent. That's not the word I'm looking for. Obedient. Being obedient in listening, and I don't mean that necessarily in a religious aspect, like God, universe, source, whatever whatever that connection is for you.
Mm-hmm.
However you choose to, define that's for you, but that connection is just priceless.
It
And
is.
that's why we're here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm such a geek. I was telling Angela, like, geek out on, quantum physics and metaphysics and, the fifth dimension. And yeah, I love it. I can talk about that all day, but so much of it starts here with the mindset. Like, you've got to remove the clutter. You've got to lift that veil.
Yeah.
And you've got to know that that's that voice.
So, one thing I want to share with you about, people's biggest challenge is probably that fear of failure, right? So one of the things that I started doing with myself many years ago is saying, what's the worst thing that could happen? Truly, what is the worst thing? Well, when I started my business, it was, okay, you could become homeless, because it won't be successful. And a story for a different time, but I said, been there, done that. And I'm not now, so clearly I got after that, right? Seriously looking at it and saying, what is the worst thing? Because really, once you think about all that, you diffuse the fear, because it's like there is, death is probably what people fear the most. And if starting your own business, if you're afraid you're going to die from it, from the stress of it, maybe we need to talk. Let's have a candid conversation about that. But truly, the worst things aren't so bad when you start thinking about them, because you can think, oh, well, I can get over that because I can do something else. Um, and so dive into that. Dive into what is the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah. 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 And it's scary when you're in it. I mean,
It
Yeah.
can be.
I've
Yeah.
had to be talked off the list. But the funny thing is, it's so scary, but it's all up here. Like, it's
Yeah.
every scenario that I'm playing out that's scary. Like, I'm
Right.
sitting here on my couch, hanging out, petting my cat, and I'm in fear for my life.
Yeah.
But
But you don't know. I mean, you take one step and none of those scenarios will happen. So
yeah,
you just spent all that time and energy worried about something that is totally irrelevant.
and to further that, all that time and energy that you just spent worrying about it would have been so much more fun and so much more productive thinking about your goals and envisioning yourself on this stage, envisioning yourself in the back of that book, envisioning yourself, signing autographs and signing your book. I mean, that's where our energy needs to go.
Hmm.
Is really, I found that's the biggest shift that I've made, is when I can get out of that bad cycle and gear of mulling it over, and when I can take that leap and see it and concentrate on that and then bring it in and embrace it,
Hmm.
I'm gonna live for another day.
Yep. That's right.
I'm gonna live for another day. So
Yeah.
you're amazing. I am so grateful that we've had this time together to spend and chat, like have real candid conversations on.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, and I will see you face to face at some point. So
Yeah.
now that we're now that we're getting out and things are opening back up, yes, for sure. It's like, I'm like you. The energy is priceless for me.
I
And
was going to say, and if you're okay with a hug, then I'll give you a hug. But if you're
yes,
not, it's okay too.
I'm like, my new place here in Conroe is Flourish. I'm like, oh, hang out there, have coffee, and please.
Yes.
Like, I bought one mask this time, and it was for my daughter's homecoming, so it matched her dress. That's it. I refuse to buy one. That's it. But yes, people, be safe. Gut health. It has something to do with gut health. So,
There you go.
all right. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a few 5-minute intermission here before my next guest, Maru, your savings pro, is on. So I know you were on her podcast last week.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I'm
Marie is
excited.
amazing. Yeah. I can't wait to hear her. So
I know, I'm excited. I had one vision of her, talking to her in one aspect and what she does, and then getting to know her on a personal level was so different. So I'm excited to open up that conversation with her.
that's great. Well, thank you again, Jen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a beautiful rest of the day, and
All
love
right.
all those grandkids. And give Randy a hug for me too. Tell
I
him
will.
I didn't know he was up at 3:30. That explains so much.
Yeah. I'll tell him.
Have a
Here.
beautiful day.